Hello students, myself is Parminder Singh from Prab Kirpa classes. Our today's topic is 13 useful resume writing tips. In our earlier two courses, we have learnt that job application consists of two parts. One is cover letter and the other is resume. We have so far discussed the covering letter draft as well as the draft of resume. We have also learned the tips for drafting a cover letter. Now, in this topic, we will concentrate on resume writing tips. It is not that we write a resume in any way. There is a proper format which we have to follow while drafting a resume. As you know that unemployment is on the rise due to rise in population. Further, many organizations like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, and many more are asking their employees to leave the organization. They may have their own reasons to ask the employees to leave the organization. But this is creating a lot of stress on the employees as well as shortage of jobs in the market, because there is already a lot of unemployment in the market. And in such a scenario, when many organizations are asking their employees to leave the organization, it adds more problem to the already unemployment people. So it becomes all the more necessary that when there is already lot of unemployment in the market, we can only become one of the successful candidates if we craft our job application, that is cover letter as well as the resume, in a proper manner. So now we will concentrate on resume writing tips. After going through this course, you will be able to understand what is the meaning of resume, what is the purpose of a resume, and what are 13 useful tips for creating a well-crafted resume. How and why should we proofread and edit our resume, and how much time do recruiters spend on reading CVs, and why should we tailor our resume according to the job description. Now we will understand the meaning of resume as well as what is the purpose of a resume. First, we will discuss the meaning of resume. A resume is a document that sums up your education, your work history, and relevant skills as well as accomplishments to obtain a job. It means that when you apply for a job, you have to send a document which is called a resume, and it contains the particulars such as your qualification, your work experience, your skills, that is hard skills and soft skills, as well as any other accomplishment which you might have obtained. Next point is a resume should be well written and tailored to the specific job you are applying for. It means that your handwriting may not be legible. So it is proper for us if we send the resume in a typed manner. Further, it also lays emphasis on the point that if we are applying for the job, say for the job of a teacher, we should mention all the qualifications or skills or work experience which pertains to teaching. We may be having the work experience as a marketing officer or sales or accounts officer, but when we are applying for teacher, we are to mention the skills or education which pertains to the job description, that is that of a teacher. So whenever we are writing our job application, that is cover letter or resume, we should take into account the job description. Now, and another important point it is mentioned here, always submit your resume with a cover letter. As already told in our previous courses, that if we submit our resume without a cover letter, then there are chances that the prospective employer may not entertain your application. Now, what is the purpose of a resume? Resume serves as a marketing tool to sell yourself to the potential employer. Suppose we want to sell any product in the market which we have manufactured, then we have to tell the public about the benefits of the product, as well as what extra features the product has in comparison to its competitive products. In the same way, when we are seeking for a job, we have to tell our own qualities, that is what is our educational qualification, what are the skills which we have, what are the special features which or special skills or achievements or work experience which we have, so that we are in a position to better serve the organization, or in what means we are better in comparison with the other job seekers. So this is the purpose of the resume, to market our own self to the potential employer. Resume demonstrates why you are the best candidate for the job. Now, another important point to understand is that a resume is not an exhaustive list of everything you have ever done. It is not that you have worked in 3 different organizations in different capacities. Suppose in one post you have worked as marketing manager, in another you have worked as accounts manager, and in third organization you have worked in some other capacity. But when you have to apply for the marketing post in some other organization, you have to concentrate mainly on your marketing experience which you have. So resume is a selective and brief representative of your most relevant experience and skills. Another important point in the case of resume is that regularly update your resume. Suppose there is a job description, there is an ad in the newspaper which says that the candidate must have 3 years of experience as marketing manager. Marketing manager has 3 years experience. Suppose you have created your resume 6 months ago, in which you had mentioned that you are having 2 years experience, but with the passage of time you are also having 3 years of experience, but you have not updated your resume and you have sent your resume to the potential employer. When your resume will be seen by the potential employer, he will see that you do not have the prescribed experience of 3 years. He will throw away your application without going through any other detail. So it becomes all the more important that you update your resume, so that there is that it truly reflects the present position, that is what is your present qualification, what is your experience up to date, and what are the all skills which you might have acquired up to date. A well crafted resume increases your chances of being selected for an interview. The main aim of a resume is to get you noticed by the hiring manager and persuade him or her to invite you for an interview where you can further show your abilities and mark a strong case for why you should be hired for the job. It means that if you have crafted your resume in a well-mannered manner, it increases your chances of being called for the interview by the hiring manager. Then another important point, make sure to include a section on your skills and highlight those that are relevant to the job you are applying for. It means that if there are any particular points which make you more suitable for the job in comparison with the other candidates, then you should highlight those points in your job application or resume. We may add that we have already uploaded many courses on YouTube and other online sites such as good communication skills, how to manage stress, web applications, time management skills, most common mistakes in English grammar, future tense, past tense, present tense, and many more. You can look out for the same. Now the topic before us is 13 useful tips for creating a well-crafted resume. Some tips to help you write a good resume. Your resume should reflect your education, your experience, and relevant skills. You might consider drafting your resume according to the job you are applying for. It means that when you are applying for a job, you should go through the job description as mentioned in the advertisement. If it says that application has been invited for the post of, say, marketing manager, you have to draft your resume or cover letter as per the job description. That is, you have to mention all your qualification, skills, or other work experience as is required or as is relevant for the job of as mentioned in the advertisement. Now we will explain the resume writing tips which will help you in designing your resume. First is use action verbs, tailoring your resume according to the job description. What is the proper size of resume? Make your resume brief, use right font. We should reduce or eliminate unnecessary white space, include only relevant information. Importance should be given to the important information. We should give priority to the important information. We should support our achievements with hard numbers. We should choose appropriate margins. We should include experience. How to include experience when you are applying for the job for the first time? Save resume in a common format, proofreading and editing your resume. We will discuss each of these tips in detail so that you can have a clear view that you can draft a resume in a well manner. First is use action verbs. First point is for us to understand that what is the meaning of action verbs. Action verb is a word which expresses physical or mental action. Action verbs softly communicate that you take the initiative to do something. We should remember that on average, the recruiter spends less than 10 seconds on each resume. That is, whenever you send a resume, the person who is going through your resume or job application will on an average take less than 10 minutes to decide whether your application should be considered or not. If he finds that your resume or job application is okay, he may take more time to go through your resume. Otherwise, he will ignore the same. So it is important for us to use action verbs to keep them engaged. To keep them engaged means to encourage them to read more about you in the resume or cover letter. While writing a resume, we should avoid using weak and passive verbs. Action verbs differ from passive verbs. How do they differ? When a sentence contains passive verb, the subject of the sentence is not doing the action. For instance, a passive sentence looks on a resume may look like this. I was the leader of my marketing team. After going through this sentence, you can observe that the prospective employer may understand that you were the leader of your team, but you did nothing after attaining that position. This is a passive word. That is, on becoming the leader of your team, you did not take any steps to show your worth or to be proved good for the organization. Now, in this case, was does not highlight any action you took. Now we will see another point. An active version of the same sentence might be, if you change the position and write in an using action verb, it may look like this: led the company's marketing team and launched new initiatives. This sentence shows that there was some action on your part. You launched new initiatives which helped the organization to achieve new heights. That is, there is something which is in the interest of the organization. You can be worth of being engaged by the company. There is action verb. Action verb has been used in this sentence. Next point, which makes the resume proper, is tailor your resume to the job description. That is, if there is an ad, you should carefully go through the same and understand what the job employer is seeking in the particular employee which he will engage. It means customizing your resume to match the requirements of a specific job you are applying for. Suppose there is a job advertisement before you. You should study the job description for the keywords that show what the employer is looking for in an ideal candidate. Make sure to highlight how you match the job requirements. We will give an example of the same. Include the keywords from the job description in your resume and use language that matches with the language used in the job description. Now, suppose the job description given in the ad says you must display active listening skills. Suppose you have been hired, you are going to be hired by a shopkeeper as a salesperson on his shop. He may write such type line in his advertisement: you must display active listening skills. That is, whatever the customer is saying, you must listen to the customer very patiently, as customer is the king. Then in that case, you should add a bullet in your resume that relates to active listening. You could list it on a resume like this. That is, you can make it a point in your resume to write in the shape of a bullet: displayed active listening in all the meetings with supervisors and higher management. That is, in your previous job, you have displayed this skill of active listening in a very good manner. So next tip is resume size. Normally, your resume should not exceed the length of a page. That is, normally you should try that the size of your resume is only in completes in single page. However, if your work experience is very high or you have a lot of skills, your qualification is much higher, then the case differs. You may take up to 2 pages to write your resume. Most employers do not have time to finish every single resume, so they won't read your resume if it is too long. As already told, unemployment is on the rise because the population is rising very quickly and there are not enough jobs in the market to be absorbed by all the job seekers. So when there is are a lot of job seekers in the market and they apply, you might have seen that for a single post, many a time thousands of applications come. So it becomes very difficult for the prospective employer to go through each resume. So if you have written your resume in a very lengthy manner consisting of many pages, he will simply throw it away because he will not have enough time to go through your lengthy resume. So make your resume, if possible, to fit in a single page. Then another tip is make it brief. As already told, due to a large number of applications a prospective employer may receive, and as well as the shortage of time which every prospective employer may have, so we should try our level best that each section of the resume should be short and to the point. Include only the most relevant information. Next tip is use the right font. What the right font means? Go through these 5 lines. In these first three, you will observe that they are not easily readable or they are somewhat decorative fonts. But these two fonts, Arial as well as Times New Roman, are easily readable. So we should avoid the overly decorative fonts and use those fonts which are easily readable, and examples are Arial and Times New Roman. Next, reduce or eliminate unnecessary white space. It may be possible that you are leaving enough space or the space which you are leaving is more than required. So the attention of the prospective employer will be very much attracted towards the unnecessary white space which you may have left between the two lines or the different lines in your resume. So we should try to reduce or eliminate any unnecessary white space. Too much blank space might make your resume seem poor. By reducing extra white space, you make it easier for the resume reader to focus only on the content of your resume instead of white space. If there is white space more, if the white space is on the higher side, then you can increase the size of your font to 12 points. Seventh tip is include only relevant information. As already told, we should go through the job description carefully and understand what are the qualities or the skills or qualification which has been sought by the prospective employer, and only the information which is relevant as per the job description should be mentioned in the cover letter as well as in the resume. We should use bold text, bullet points and italics to highlight the important information. If your resume includes old or irrelevant information, such as jobs held over 10 years ago or minor degrees and achievements, it may distract attention from relevant information. It means that you may have served in different organizations for say 15 days, 1 month, or 2 months, and you may be having such a list of say 10 employers, and you have also worked in two other organizations for quite a long time, say 2-3 years. So it is relevant for you to mention only those two about those two employers and not to mention about those periods of employments where the period of employment is quite low, and you should mention only those degrees or achievements or those jobs which are only in the recent past. So next point is prioritize important information. It means that important information should be written first and less important information should be written afterwards. Next, support your achievement with hard numbers. You might have heard the term a picture is worth a thousands of words. Whenever we go on the road, our attention is automatically drawn towards the pictures which may be there on the hoardings. We may not be most attracted towards the words which are written there. So it is in the same sense that a picture is worth a thousand words. In the same manner, numbers are worth a thousand words on resumes. Do not simply say you accomplished something at work. Use specific examples and quantifiable data to support your claim. When you write something in numbers into your resumes, the employer is automatically attracted towards the numbers. Numbers can relate to different things, such as it may be dollar amount. Dollar amount means that you took steps as a marketing manager or sales manager to increase the sales of your company from 1 lakh dollars to 10 lakh dollars in a period of 1 year. Then the numbers may be hours worked per day, or even the number of people you may have been in charge. Instead of writing I was a camp counselor, if you write that I was responsible for supervising and organizing activities of 30 campers on a daily basis, it makes more sense. In the first case, it was not clear that how much persons were there which you were organizing or supervising. But in the second line, you have given quantifiable data, that is, you were in charge of 30 campers. In the same way, if you say that I was the marketing manager, but it does not show that how many persons were under you which were doing the function of marketing. But if you say that and I was a marketing manager and 30 persons were reporting to me, it means that you were the in charge of 30 persons. Although both these sentences, first this sentence and this sentence, describe the same job of a camp counselor, second sentence is much more appealing to an employer because we have given quantifiable data of 30 campers. Without the number, a potential employer might think it is only a few campers. The numbers give them a better sense of what you actually did. Other examples are I increased sales by 30%. That is, this is the quantifiable data. I outperformed sales targets by 10%. This is the quantifiable data. Here it means that you must give numbers to support your achievement. It makes more sense for the employer. Then choose appropriate margins. Typically, you should use a 1-inch margin on all the sides of your resume. Upper side, lower side, left, right. If you have too much white space, you might consider making your line space by 1.25 or 1.5. 11th, experience to include on a resume for your first job. It means that when you are applying for the job for the first time, that is, you have passed with a degree from a university only 1 month ago and you are applying for a job for the first time, you do not have work experience. In that case, what to write against the work experience? In that case, you do not have to write anything. Until then, you may share how you are building skills relevant to the job you are applying for. That is, in that case, when you are applying for the job for the first time, against the writing work experience, you may write internships or apprenticeships or the volunteer work which you may have done. Then another point, 12th point, save resume in a common format. Sometime we may save the format in such a form on our computer that it may not easily open on the computer or mobile or of the potential employer. So we should use it in a format which is commonly used by all of us. So we should save our resume in a format like Microsoft Word document or PDF so that it can be easily opened and read by the hiring manager. It may be possible that you are not sending your job application or resume by post. You are sending your resume by email by way of attachment. So that attachment should have your resume as well as cover letter in the shape of Microsoft Word document or PDF file. Now another 13th useful tip for writing your resume is proofreading and editing your resume. So far we have discussed 12 tips to write a resume. Now this is the 13th, proofreading and editing your resume. You have only one chance to make a first impression. It means that whenever a job is advertised, you apply for the same. If your resume has some mistakes, or it is not in the proper format, or it is not legible, or some other errors, then you may not get the chance to be called for the interview. So your resume is the first impression of the prospective employer. So after writing your resume, do not forget the final step, and the final step is careful proofreading. Before sending your resume, you should undergo several rounds of proofreading to ensure that there are no spelling or grammar errors. If there are spelling or grammar errors, then the word used by you may give the impression to the prospective employer that you do not know the language in which the resume is written, you are very poor in communication skills, or the word used by you may mean some other thing to the prospective employer. These types of errors, whether these are spelling errors or grammar errors, they reduce your chances of getting the job. While there are several proofreading programs and tools you can use, it is also helpful to ask your trusted friend or colleague to review the resume as an employer, so that you can improve or correct the resume as per the advices of your colleague or friend. Now, some of the resume proofreading tips include: proofread your resume using a print copy rather than relying on a screen. Whenever you read any document on the computer screen, you may skip an error. But when you get a print of the same on a paper, then you read it, you may find a mistake which you had skipped while reading the same document on the computer screen. Then another tip is, read your resume silently and slowly. If you go through the resume very fastly, then there are likely chances that you may not pinpoint the error which is there in the resume. Next point is, double check little words. Sometimes it also happens to us that whenever we go through the document on the screen, on a printed copy, then there are certain words which often skip, which are wrong, which have been wrongly used, but they skip our attention. For example, sometimes we may use or in place of of, or of in place of or we may write it or is. They get often interchanged. It may be also that there is some typographical error. Next, ask someone to proofread your resume. When we read our resume, then it is quite possible that there is some mistake in writing the word, but that word appears correct to our eyesight. But when some other person is asked to go through the resume and proofread it, he will find out the same. Another person will be more objective in evaluating whether your resume makes sense. Next, scrutinize for homophones. What is the meaning of homophones? Homophones means those words that sound the same but are spelled differently and have different meanings. For example, there is a word accept. These two words have different meanings. But if we use this accept in place of this, it means different thing. This is the role, your role in the organization. This is the roll number. So these two words also have different meanings. So when we are writing the words, we should be very careful, as using the wrong word drastically affect the sense of a sentence, but also these types of mistakes affect your reputation as well, because using the wrong word will give wrong impression on the prospective employer, as well as it will change the meaning of the sentence in its entirety. Next point, print in a different font. Print out your resume in a different font. If you are accustomed to Calibri, it means that Calibri is a font. If you usually print your documents in Calibri font, try a serif font. It means serif and another font like Times New Roman while proofreading. While if you change the font, it is maybe possible that you may pinpoint the error which you were not in a position to find when you are using your usual font. Even this slight change can help you catch errors that were once invisible. Now, a very important question before us, and the question is, how much time do recruiters spend on reading CVs? This question is very important because some job seekers do not invest time to draft a proper resume which is legible after using proper format, proper font, proper language, and use of cover letter, etc. So this is a very difficult question to answer. How much time do recruiters spend on reading CVs? However, it has been found that recruiters do not spend much time reviewing CVs. We have already discussed in our earlier course that there are many factors which affect the time spent by the prospective employer on reading CVs. For example, volume of the applications received by the prospective employer, or senior position or lower position, for which post or job the applications have been sought. Because if the post is of lower level, a large number of applications do arrive at the desk of the prospective employer, whereas in case of senior positions, very few number of applications are put forward by the job seekers. It has been found that the majority of the candidates applying for jobs do not meet the minimum criteria as asked for by the employer. It means that, suppose if the job ad says that the applications are invited for the post of English teacher, and the minimum qualification of the job seeker should be postgraduate in English. It has been found that most of the job seekers may be not having the minimum qualification of post graduation. They may be having less qualification than that prescribed, that is post graduation. Even then they apply for the same. So due to this reason, the number of applications though increase, but they do not meet the criteria set by the prospective employer. So as most of the applications sent by the job seekers do not meet the minimum criteria laid down by the prospective employer, so the average time spent on a CV goes down. How it goes down? Suppose there are 5 resumes before you, and you have set the condition that a person should be MBA. When you open the resume, first of all, you will find out whether that person who has applied for the job is having the qualification of MBA. If it does not have, you will throw out application. That is, in a few seconds, you will throw the application and will not go into the further details what has been written in the resume. If all the applications were from suitable candidates, suppose if all the candidates are MBA which have applied for the particular job, then the job seeker will not be in a position to throw away the application. He will have to go through all the other details which have been mentioned by the job seeker in his resume, find out which person is most suitable for the job. So the average time spent on reading a CV would increase. Now we come to the main question which we had asked: how much time do recruiters spend? Answer is, as per a research, recruiters spend 6 to 8 seconds glancing at a resume oblique CV. But There are times when they spend greater or less time reviewing a CV. It may only take a few seconds to rule a candidate out, because if he does not fulfill the minimum criteria, then the application is likely to be summarily rejected. If you apply for a suitable jobs with a well presented CV, you will receive much more attention than the industry average. Industry average means you will receive more attention from the prospective employer, and the minimum criteria which has been found as 6 to 8 seconds. It means that your resume will get the time more than 8 seconds, which is the industry average. Now we will conclude this course. Invest time to create a high quality resume. Be honest and truthful in your resume. We should not be truthful and honest in resume only. We should be honest and truthful in all our deeds. Include relevant information. Next, tailor your resume to the job. Next point, keep your resume brief and to the point, as the employers do not have enough time to go through your lengthy resume. Avoid slang or casual language. Use formal language. If you like our video, please like, share and subscribe our channel. Thank you.